You're inside the press box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your host, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Hey, Vero Nation. Thanks for joining us inside the press box. Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris as we get set for Week 11. Well, we got to talk about Week 10. It didn't go the way that the Vero Nation would have loved to seen it. A loss to Treasure Coast, 22-10, means that Treasure Coast becomes the District 12 champion. Congratulations to the Titans. They played a good ball game. Vero Beach, on the other hand, did not play their best ball game, Gary, and it was a tough game all the way around, especially if you're a Vero Beach fan.
Yeah, unfortunately for Vero, it started really on a real bad the first series we had was a recovered fumble.
Yeah.
We stopped. They had a bad exchange in the backfield. Mm-hmm. Their quarterback and running back they were late getting there or too early. He tried to reach up. They dropped the ball. They fumbled it. Vero Beach recovered about the 11-yard line.
Yep. And
when I say the first series was bad, we had it down to the 2-yard line and could not punch it in. We had a bad snap ourselves that led and ended up with 3 points. Well, yeah, that's a free 3 because you took a possession away, but you didn't get the touchdown. Every game of that nature we ever played with Treasure Coast, you got to take advantage of every opportunity that you get.
Yep.
And because they're going to play you hard, they're going to dominate the clock with their style of offense. Mm-hmm. So only getting 3, it was good that you got 3 points. It was bad that we didn't get 7.
Agreed. And, not taking advantage of a missed opportunity like that. At the moment, you don't realize it, but ultimately it set the tone for what was to come in this ball game. And Vero Beach, after getting the 3 points, then forced Treasure Coast. Again, defense played very well in this ball game. Other than the fact, probably because of our offense not being able to get some things going, they probably spent way more time on the field than maybe you'd like to see them play. And maybe near the end they got tired and maybe gave up an extra touchdown that maybe otherwise you wouldn't see our defense give up. But, there were some real pivotal moments in this game. Look, Vero Beach fought back. You're down 7-3 after Treasure Coast gets the score, and Vero Beach comes back with another drive later in the second quarter and takes the lead 10-7 and goes into the halftime with a 10-7 lead. And you're going to get the ball to start the third quarter. So you're feeling pretty good at that point.
In the first half, when it ended like that, you thought, okay, well, it would have been nice to have 4 more points on the board.
Right.
And had 14-3, up there, or 14-7. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, but here we are. We're 10-7. We got the lead. We get the ball. Mm-hmm. If we can generate any kind of offense. Now, here's the key word, generate any kind of an offense. In that first half, we did not look well when we did have the ball.
Yeah.
We looked like we were out of sync. We couldn't run the ball. We struggled passing the ball. Mm-hmm. And so you thought, okay, we'll go in at halftime, get some things fixed, adjust some things, and we'll come back out, we get the ball. And my thinking was at that time, if we can go down and take a 17-7 lead, then it puts them behind the 8 ball. It makes them have to either change their game plan or be more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And if we could hold them, and my thinking was if we can hold them that first series, they get the ball, and we can find a way to take some time off the clock and get some more points, I felt like we could win the game. It didn't happen that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? They stop us. We oversnap our punter.
Yeah.
And it goes into the end zone, out the end zone for a safety, and now all of a sudden we're up 10-9.
Right.
And you could feel the momentum starting to change.
Totally there. Felt it swing. Yeah.
And I just felt like, wow, what I thought would happen didn't happen. What I didn't see this happened. And I was hoping our offense would come out and find a way to get up and get down the field and challenge their defense And but they did a good job. I'm going to tell you, Martin County. Martin County. It's Treasure Coast did a great job of really doing a coverage. Mm-hmm. They did a good job. Their theory was to force us, try to make us throw the ball deep, not to give us anything short. They thought they could get to our quarterback if we had to go deep. And at times I really felt like they had a good scheme in against our offense. It was tough for us to get going, especially the second half.
Agreed. And even after we gave up the safety and it's 10-9, we forced Treasure Coast on a 3-and-out the next possession. And then you're thinking, all right, maybe we've dodged a bullet here. But as you said, our offense just really couldn't ever seem to get anything going in the second half at all. We come back with that after that series and a 3-and-out, and we punt the ball away. But then here again, defense comes up with a big play. Rivers recovers a fumble. Xbox forces the fumble. And then here comes Rivers. Avion Rivers recovers the fumble. And you're thinking, all right, here we go. And we're on their 27-yard line, but turnover on downs. We just could not do anything with the ball when we had an opportunity. And then after that turnover on downs, that's where the game really flipped, Gary, because then Treasure Coast comes back 77 yards on 7 plays. They get a score. Now they're up 15-10. And you just started to sense like, I don't know, it's only 5 points, and all it would take is a touchdown. But can we do it?
Well, it's the exchange of plays, which you said in those 2 series, how the game flip-flopped around. We also lost any kind of momentum at that time. We weren't executing well. We tried to run screen plays, and one of the things Coach Jankowski does so well is he runs his screens. He's known for his screens. Mm-hmm. But to make a screen work, every part of it's got to be well executed and well done. I mean, they practice on these screens, and they work on it. But when you throw the ball behind the receiver, and wants to take that step forward and get this momentum, when you put it behind him, he loses his momentum, and then you can only sustain those blocks for a certain number of seconds because their athletes are going to come flying over, and they were flying to the ball. We did not get anything out of our screens. Mm-hmm. That's our part of our bread and butter. And then we had some receivers wide open. And, you're going to have a game. Quarterbacks are going to have a game where they just can't connect. Yeah. Seems like for some reason, some way, somehow. Tyler Aronson, as good as he's been in his career at Vero Beach High School, he did not have a good second half throwing the ball downfield. He missed too many opportunities, too many open receivers that he should have hit. And again, I'm looking at it as a analyst looking at the play. You analyze the play, you look at it, and you say to yourself, wow, he misses his receiver by 5 yards on a pass play. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, that's not like him, though. He's usually got it pretty close to him, and the receivers run right underneath it, and they're big plays. But he struggled a little bit, and I think some of it was being the pressure put on by the defense, hurrying the throws, and again, offensive line probably didn't have their best job blocking because we couldn't run the ball. We had a total of 150 yards approximately. That's a unofficial
total
number.
Offense, somewhere around 160.
Yeah, 160 total yards of offense, and you usually are putting up over 300 yards of offense on everybody you play. Yeah. So I would give credit to Irving Jones and his team.
Yeah,
they capitalized on the turnovers. Mm-hmm. When they turned it over, we only got 3 points.
Right.
So I mean, they
had 3 turnovers in that ball game, and we got 3 points off of 3 turnovers.
3 points off, and that's it. And so give him credit, his team and all. Coach Jankowski was frustrated because the execution wasn't there by the offensive line. The running backs at times were maybe out of place. I don't totally know what happened, but I did know this. I did see the offensive line get frustrated, and they were they got beat across on the ball. And when you beat your opponent across and you get this push and the surge into the backfield, you're going to lose most of those battles.
Totally. So Vero Beach with the loss obviously does not get the district title. And here's where, a lot of questions over the weekend now have been, well, what does that do for Vero Beach's playoff chances? Well, here's what it does. It takes your destiny and now relies on other factors now. You don't have control of your own destiny now. So if you win the district title, you're definitely assured a spot in the playoffs. Now Vero Beach has got to win this last ball game against Lake City Columbia back here at home and then see what happens. That's really all they can do.
Treasure Coast is done for the year. They're 7-2.
Right.
They're done. They're district champs. They get a week off. They get a chance to sit back and wait to the playoffs and find out who they play. And whether it's going to be us or it's going to be, there's a good chance that we may end up playing them again.
Well, there is. So let's talk about this real quick, Gary. So the playoff, the bracket, the rankings as FHSAA puts them out, going into this ball game against Treasure Coast was at the number 2 spot. Vero Beach was at the number 5 spot. And University out of Orange City was at the number 1 spot. Now, University did not win their district. And in the last couple of years with this ranking system, the way it worked was your 4 district champions would be the top 4 seeds in the bracket. And then the bottom 4 seeds are your at-large berths. Well, they've changed that now. There's no more of the district champs. The district champs is just all based off of your rankings. So the only assurance is that in round 1, a district champ will host the ball game. So that playoff from round 1 ball game will be at the district champ. So as a perfect example right now, if things go the way that we think they're going to go right now, if University maintains that number 1 spot, Osceola won their game last Friday. They're the district champ. They're the only ones out of that district that have made it into the playoffs. They're at the 8th spot right now. So Osceola would actually host against University. So 8 would actually be the hosting team against the number 1 team in the bracket. It's a little weird. I know it's a little strange, but that's just the way that they've set it up this year. Right now, if things hold, looks like, Treasure Coast would be number 2. Vero Beach on this loss could potentially slide down to the number 7 spot, which means what, Gary?
That means we would travel to Southfield in Port St. Lucie to play Treasure Coast
again. Yeah.
Here's the thing I think has frustrated coaches. And we do the coaches' corner at Caps on Tuesday. You and I ask Lenny, how does that formula work? Every year we ask him, and every year he comes back and says, I don't know all the components, how they do it.
Right.
Max Preps has a formula that they don't share with everybody.
Right. Well, and
it takes away strength of schedule, victories.
Yeah, the margin of victory, and I actually agree with that. I'm glad that's not a part of the equation because, look, you don't want to see
no, you don't
beating up teams when it's not necessary.
Right.
We don't need to see a bunch of 60-0 or 70-0 type of scores. We don't need to see that. But what's interesting about all of this is the fact that, like last year, we had a decent schedule. We had a really good schedule this year too. But let's go back last year. We had a really strong strength of schedule. We were number 1 as far as in the bracket as far as strength of schedule was concerned.
Way ahead of everybody else.
Way ahead of everybody else. It wasn't even close. And we stayed that way all the way to the cutoff point for the playoffs. And, of course, we won the district title, so that helped too. This year, Lenny puts together a schedule, and you look at it and you go, now, last year we had 2 teams on the schedule that weren't there this year. Last year we had South Fork and Port St. Lucie, okay? Those 2 were gone. We replaced them with Miami Northwestern and Seminole. And you're thinking, wow, man, we really taken this new schedule's gone up a notch. But our strength of schedule has tanked this year because we've got too many teams that have under 500 records. So you got, Wellington. I think they only won 1 or 2 games. You've got Centennial hasn't won a game. You got Fort Pierce Central that only won a couple of games. And then you've got like Palm Beach Gardens that, and we're talking about teams now that were in the playoffs.
Every one of these teams you just mentioned.
Except Fort Pierce Central. They were in the playoffs last year. Now we have to play, obviously we have to play Centennial and we have to play Central because they're district opponents. They're in part of our district. We have to play those teams. But yeah, Centennial, Wellington, and then you got Miami Northwestern. Miami Northwestern right now has a losing record. Now, they've played some very strong teams, but they still have a losing record. And so for us, that is going against our strength of schedule.
Sure.
So, all that to say is that's why if you're wondering well, wait a minute, Vero Beach played, some really good teams. Just the overall strength of schedule right now is hurting us.
And what would hurt worse is a hot team right now playing Columbia, who won their district championship for their class. If we lose to them next Friday, there's a good chance, there might be an outside chance we don't make the playoffs.
That is very true. And we call that a professional segue, by the way. Nice job there, transitioning right into Lake City, Columbia, who we play. I love that. That's a good job here, Gary. You've been studying. I like that. Look at you.
I learned from the best.
You've been working. Well, we'll send Mark Daniels a nice thank you card.
Talking about Paul Tipton.
But you're right. There is a chance right now because of the fact we've lost 2 games. If we lose a third game, it really, really, really puts us in a bad situation just because of the fact that our strength of schedule. Now, there are teams in this bracket right now, and this is where we're getting the overall point. There are teams that have a lesser record than we do. They have more losses than we do.
Columbia being one.
Correct.
They've won their last 4 ball games, and they won their district.
But I'm saying just in our bracket.
In our bracket, right. I got you.
But they're either A, district champ, or B, they have a stronger strength of schedule. So that is going to be very interesting that we have to watch. So all that to say, you always want to win all of your games. Yes, but now Vero Beach has got themselves in almost a desperate situation right now. That's just where we are.
It's a pickle.
Yeah.
We're at a point where we'll find out more tomorrow when the FHA, Florida High School Athletic Association, brings out the rankings.
Right.
And
right.
when we see the rankings, then you can tell whether a loss would hurt you or a win doesn't help you. Yep. But you've got this spot secured. Looks like.
What will really help Vero Beach is if they either stay at number 5 or just only slide to number 6. If they slide to number 7 or potentially number 8, that really puts us in a bind.
I agree, and I think a win is we control our destiny. We can no longer be a playoff. I mean, the only way we'd ever be a playoff team is that if for example, a team lower than us beats a district champion in the first round or second round, and we haven't had a home game. They've been, we would get a shot at a home game.
True, very true. Well, I will say this because again, there have been a lot of changes. So round 1 is the only round where a district champ matters.
Right.
After you get to if you get to round 2,
it's ranked.
It's just rankings.
It's rankings.
So, for instance, let's say, if Osceola, as an example, is the 8th seeded team and they are a district champ, and Vero Beach is either 7 or higher, obviously, and it came down to those 2 teams, then Vero Beach would get to host a game. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There's so many scenarios.
That's a lot of hypotheticals right now.
You're right. But Columbia. Here's Columbia. Columbia's out of Lake City, Florida.
Yeah.
We've played them years ago. We had to travel all the way up there to Columbia, if you remember.
Yep.
Billy Livens era.
Yep.
And I can't remember if we won a lot, but I think we won.
That's a good question. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But I'm just thinking. I remember traveling up there, and I have in my mind. I think we won the game. It was a very close game. Here's a team that has lost their first 4 games. They had a junior quarterback that Polk was his name, I think.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, after losing 4 games, then they bring in their freshman. And their freshman has won 4 straight games.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, they've got to change. I don't know whether the junior got hurt or they got benched, and they brought in the freshman, and then the freshman has played lights out, and they won their district, and they won 4 straight games. So we're playing a team that's on a roll.
Yeah.
We're playing a team that's peaking.
Totally
peaking. Now we'll find out where we are. We'll find out what kind of team. And this, here's the other thing, too. This was supposed to be our open week.
Yeah, that's true, Gary.
This
good
was
point.
Supposed to be our open week, and Treasure Coast has an open week this week.
Yeah.
And so if if we win our game, okay, there's a good chance we don't play Treasure Coast in the opening round. There's
Could be.
a good chance.
Yeah.
There's a good chance, I think. But there's a chance that they may, if they stay, it depends on where they put us. If we're at 5, like you said.
Well, us and them. There's still a possibility Treasure Coast could move up to the top spot.
Yes.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of ifs and buts here. So, and we are getting close to Christmas, by the way.
We're getting close. You're right. Yeah. If and buts, candy and nuts. It wouldn't be gross. That's all I'm saying. But my point is that you stay at 5, you're going to play 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to play the 4th ranked district team champion.
Right.
So you're at 5, you're going to play 4.
Yep.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but I'll tell you what, that could be somebody like DeLand, who's a pretty strong team, who, by what Coach Jankowski has told us, runs a very similar type of offense to what Treasure Coast does. So, yeah.
Oh, you have nightmares on that.
So,
as a coach, you don't see the single wing. You don't see it. They got direct snaps. They got people in motion all the time. It's a moving parts out there, and your job as a defensive coordinator is to try to read the moving parts. They do counter. They start left. They cut back right. They got their line sealed. They do an excellent job of running it. And I think what Lenny made an indication to you one time, you all were talking, that he thinks more and more schools might go to that.
Mm-hmm.
That might switch, because it's hard to run that spread offense if you don't have the receivers or the quarterback.
True.
And it's a lot easier to play smash mouth football than it is to execute sometimes a spread offense, and where you've got to give your quarterback time, or you got to roll them out, or whatever you may be. You don't have that athlete sometimes.
I think it's just how life goes, Gary. I mean, you have seasons where it's been, spread it out and run it around, throw it around a lot, and you've had seasons where it's like, let's play it tight, smash mouth, and get, 4 or 5 yards if we can. And, and maybe we're just at a swing point here where maybe we're going to see more schools, high schools, go more towards that direction.
Well, I promise you, Columbia is not a smash mouth football team.
No.
They like to throw the ball.
No, you look at the numbers and you go, this freshman quarterback's got an arm. There's no doubt.
At one time I thought I had this one chalked up as a W because of the way they started the season.
Yeah.
I no longer have that. Right now, I think we got great competition coming in here. A team that's going to travel 5 hours to play a ball game, and they want to come back with a W. It's a long way to travel to take a loss, but it all depends on how well we adjust, how well our attitude is, and again, here's where coaching comes a factor. It's how well you got to pick your team up now.
Totally,
that's a tough loss.
Yeah,
it's a tough loss because it's a loss. It's a game that you could have won.
Yeah.
You could have won that game.
You could have won it, yeah.
And that's what makes it very hard, because if you take a touchdown away and you put another touchdown on, you win.
Yeah.
And that's the way you have to kind of look at the game, in the sense that we gave up one and we gave one and we didn't get one because we needed to. So I think what you have to do is get your team fired up back up again. Heal the wounds and the emotional wounds, too, that go with a game, Paul.
Totally.
As a coach, your job now is to lift your kids up and to try to get them focused back on this game, how important this game is.
What'll also help, Vero Nation. boosting the players. So Friday night, let's make sure we show up and show out there for our boys here on Friday night. Make sure to get your tickets. If you don't know how to get your tickets, just go to ticketspicket.com. You can buy at the gate, by the way. They do allow you to do that now. So either way, show up. Let's get support for these boys out here. Let's get ourselves a W, and let's walk in strong to the playoffs in a couple of weeks. Gary Parrish, Paul Tipton, Inside the Press Box. Thanks for joining us. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.